Well, my last question, which both you and Dr. Roberts touched on, is defense spending, and we have covered it, but it gives me an opportunity to bring this back to Rumsfeld. So, in the interest of symmetry, I will, because another interesting aspect to his archives from the NATO period were the cables he was writing home to then Secretary Kissinger about what he saw is a very dangerous culture of dependency that was growing in NATO in terms of reliance on American security for Europe. And of course, what they were grappling with then was the Vietnam War being a Pacific distraction for the U.S. from Europe, and he was deeply concerned that particularly the major NATO allies, were not investing sufficiently in defense. And we then have the situation where this summer we will mark not only the 75th anniversary of NATO's founding, but also the 10th anniversary of the Wales Summit, which established 2%, the 2% benchmark, which everybody pledged but was not bound to reach. What tools do we have to accelerate progress toward that 2% mark? Because you might have read about it in the paper, we're going to have an election in November. And in the event of a political change in the United States, I think this issue could become really quite acute. And so what will your message be going into the Washington summit this summer as Secretary General to encourage additional progress?
First of all, it is extremely important that European allies and Canada are investing more in defense. The very clear message from the United States, and also the very clear message from President Trump back in when he was president from 2017 to 21, has had an impact. So things are now changing. Because you have to remember that when we made the pledge a few years ago at Wales, at the summit in Wales, to spend 2% of GDP on defense, only 3 allies, the United States, United Kingdom and Greece, spent 2% or more. This year, we don't have the final figures, but this year we expect at least half of the allies to meet the 2% target. That's not good enough, but it's enormously much better than when we made the pledge. And those are allies who are not yet at 2%. They are coming very close, most of them, and all have a plan in place to reach 2%. So that's a total different world than where we were just a few years ago. Second, I think that this is partly about spending more, but is also about realizing that we need to spend together, because that's a great advantage we have compared to any other major power, is that we can get so much out of our investments when we do it together as we do as an alliance. So I'm actually quite optimistic when it comes to NATO allies delivering, and that's my main message to the United States, that European allies have understood the seriousness, and European allies are investing more.
Well, I think we can open it up to some audience questions now. How does this work, Catherine?
I'll go down. You want to raise your hand?
Thank you very much. I'm Defense Attaché of Poland here in DC, represents the Ministry of Defense in the Embassy of Poland. First of all, I'd like to express my admiration for your leadership and the things you have done over the past year for the whole NATO. And my question pertains regional plans. We know that the last summer, the allied heads of states and the governments approved the regional plans. So for the first time in our history, we have plans, actually a family of plans that fit the purpose of the regional defense of the Euro-Atlantic area. And my question is about executability of these plans. What is your assessment on that? It pertains mostly the member states to fill these plans with the capabilities, but I believe you have some things to share how long it might take. Thank you very much.
Well, these plans are extremely important. We agreed them last year. We are able to execute our plans. But of course, the more forces, the more capabilities we have, there is less and less risk. And the good news is that, again, because allies are spending more, they are also now delivering the forces, setting up the forces and establishing the readiness we need to reduce the risks we face. So these are ambitious plans, and we are delivering on them.
Sergio de la Peña, sir. My question is, what is NATO's strategy to defeat Russia, if that is your strategy? And please define defeat, other than as long as it takes.
But I have to understand, you mean, when it comes to NATO territory, our strategy is to deter Russia from attacking us. And that has been a successful strategy for 75 years. But maybe you asked me about Ukraine. Yeah, okay. That's, again, that's important, but it's a different issue. And we must not mix those two. When it comes to Ukraine, the strategy is to ensure that Ukraine prevails as a sovereign independent nation, and that Putin realizes that the cost of trying to control Ukraine is too high. This is partly about liberating territory, and we have to recognize or acknowledge that Ukrainians have liberated roughly half of the territory that Russia occupied at the beginning of the war. Of course, we would have liked to see more territory liberated. We would have liked to see the offensive that was launched last year to yield more gains. But we need to remember where this whole thing started. At the beginning of the war, most experts believed that Ukraine will be controlled by Russia within weeks and Kiev within days. That didn't happen. And the Ukrainians have been able to liberate roughly half of the territory. In addition to that, the Ukrainians have also been able to open a corridor in the Black Sea to push back the Russian Black Sea fleet, which is actually a huge achievement. And they're now able to export grain and other commodities out of the Black Sea. And thirdly, and perhaps most importantly, they are constantly inflicting heavy losses on the Russian armed forces. Russia has lost more than 300,000 casualties, thousands of armored vehicles, half of their battle tanks, or perhaps even more, and hundreds of aircraft. So Russia is paying a high price because of the Ukrainians' determination and courage, and because of our military support. Wars are by nature unpredictable, and no one can tell you exactly how this war ends. But what I can tell you is that the likelihood for an end to this war, where Ukraine prevails, increases the more support we give them. And therefore I welcome that European allies have been pushing, and also, of course, the support that the United States has provided since the beginning of this war. Because as long as Putin believes that he can win on the battlefield, he will continue. When he realizes that the price he's paying on the battlefield is too high, and that he will not win on the battlefield, he will have to sit down and recognize, agree, negotiate some kind of agreement where Ukraine continues to be a sovereign, independent, democratic nation in Europe. So yeah, the strategy is to inflict so high costs on Russia that they accept that they will not control Ukraine.
Well, Mr. Secretary General, thank you very much. We are at time, and I know you have a very busy schedule. A little bit of housekeeping, if everyone could remain seated until the NATO party has left the auditorium, that would be great. I would like to echo my Polish friends' thanks for your service to NATO, and have fun out in America.
Thank you.